Did you feel that? That little spark of curiosity or anticipation? That was dopamine right there. That little jolt you just experienced? That's your dopamine system lighting up. Not from getting a reward, but from anticipating it. That pop? That was your brain saying, pay attention, something important just happened. And the best part? You don't have to wait for balloon-popping moments in life. You can train your brain to generate that same spark every time you take action. Seriously. You've been told that dopamine is the pleasure chemical your brain releases when you cross a finish line, crush a workout, or bite into a piece of chocolate. You've been sold this idea that motivation is all about chasing that final moment of pleasure, the reward that makes all the struggle worth it. Well, that's not the whole story, and that one little misunderstanding is probably the very reason you sometimes struggle to get going. It's why you can binge-watch motivational speeches and still end up glued to the couch. It's why you can start a New Year's resolution with a burst of energy, only to have it fizzle out by the second week of January. The real key to sustainable motivation isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about understanding what dopamine actually does. In this video, I'm going to show you how one scientific truth can completely rewire your relationship with hard work and achievement. We're not just busting a myth, we're giving you a new playbook for how to generate motivation whenever you need it. Let's just be real for a second. How many times have you been here? You've got a list of things you know you should be doing. Important things. Things that could genuinely change your life for the better. Study for the exam. Finish the project. Go to the gym. Start the business you've been dreaming about for years. You know what to do. You know why you need to do it. But you just don't feel like it. So what's the next move? You start searching for a spark. You scroll social media, hoping an inspirational quote will hit you just right. You watch a hype video that gets you fired up for maybe an hour. You promise yourself, okay, tomorrow I'll feel it. But tomorrow comes, the feeling is gone, and you're right back where you started. You're waiting for this magical feeling called motivation to show up, but it feels like it operates on its own random schedule. That cycle is exhausting. It can make you feel lazy, undisciplined, or just plain broken. You look at successful people and assume they wake up every day bursting with passion, like they have some secret motivation engine that you're missing. But what if the problem isn't you? What if the problem is the rule book you've been given? You've been trying to win a game without knowing how it's actually scored. The idea that motivation is a prize you get after you do the work is the foundational lie that's holding you back. The truth is so much more empowering because it puts the controls right back where they belong, with you. And to get there, we need to talk about that misunderstood chemical, dopamine. For years, pop science has sold us a simple story. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. Do something good, get a dopamine hit, feel happy. Simple, right? This idea came from early studies where scientists saw dopamine levels jump when an animal got a reward. It was an easy connection to make. Reward arrives, dopamine spikes, therefore dopamine must be pleasure. But science has evolved. We now know that's a massive oversimplification. Dopamine isn't what gives you the of pleasure. The actual liking part of a reward, the this is nice sensation, involves other brain chemicals like opioids and serotonin. So what's dopamine's real job? It's not about the pleasure of the reward, it's about the of getting it. Dopamine is the molecule of motivation, of craving, of drive. It's the force that propels you off the couch to go get the thing in the first place. It's not the this feels good chemical. It's the ooh, pay attention, that thing might be important chemical. It's the wanting, not the having, the pursuit, not the prize. Think about the feeling of scrolling on your phone. It's not the post you're on that keeps you hooked. It's the of what the one might be. That little what-if gamble is pure dopamine. Or think about the excitement you feel on the way to a great restaurant. All that looking forward and imagining the food, that's dopamine. The actual joy of eating the meal involves other systems. This is a game-changing difference. If you think dopamine is pleasure, you'll always be waiting for the finish line. But if you understand it's about anticipation and pursuit, you can start to engineer it to make the itself feel motivating. To really get this, we need to talk about a concept called reward prediction error. It sounds nerdy, but it's the simple operating system that runs your motivation. Your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly guessing how much reward you'll get for doing something. A reward prediction error is just the difference between what your brain would happen and what happened. It works in 3 ways. 1. Positive prediction error. The result is than expected. You try a new coffee shop expecting it to be okay, but it's the best latte you've ever tasted. That surprise, that wow moment, triggers a huge dopamine spike. Your brain screams, "Pay attention! Whatever you just did, do it again." This reinforces the behavior. 1. No prediction error. The result is what you expected. You get your usual coffee from your usual place. It tastes like it always does. No surprise, no big dopamine release. Your brain already knew what was coming, so there was nothing new to learn. 1. Negative prediction error. The result is than expected. You go to the vending machine for your favorite snack, but it's empty. That disappointment causes your dopamine to below its normal level. Your brain says, "Yikes, that was a waste of energy. Let's not do that again." This system is how you learn what's worth your effort. Dopamine isn't just a feel-good signal, it's a teaching signal. When something is unexpectedly good, dopamine spikes and you're motivated to do it again. This is why the first time you do something fun, it feels amazing. It's new and it probably beat your expectations. But the 100th time, the reward is predictable and the dopamine hit from the reward itself shrinks. So if dopamine is about anticipation, why are things like social media, junk food and video games so addictive? Because they are perfectly designed to hijack this prediction error system. Every swipe, every notification, every level up is a tiny, unpredictable potential reward. You don't know if the next video will be hilarious or boring. This randomness keeps your dopamine system firing, constantly anticipating that next little hit. This creates a huge problem. Think of your baseline dopamine level as the surface of a calm lake. When you do these high-stimulation, low-effort activities, you're heaving a giant boulder into it. You get a massive spike of anticipatory dopamine. But for every giant wave, there's an equal and opposite trough that dips far below where you started. This is a simplified way to picture it, but the principle holds. Your brain tries to find balance. After that huge artificial dopamine spike, your brain compensates by reducing its sensitivity. It essentially makes it harder for you to feel motivated from normal things. After a few hours of scrolling, your baseline level of dopamine is lower. Now, when you turn to face a genuinely hard task, like studying, the small natural drip of dopamine you might get from making progress feels like nothing. It's a tiny pebble dropped into that same lake. It just can't compete with the tidal waves you're used to. This is the heart of the modern motivation crisis. You haven't run out of motivation, you've just desensitized your system with cheap hits. You've trained your brain to expect a massive reward for zero effort. So when you face a task that requires huge effort for a delayed reward, your brain logically says, "Nope, not worth it." The solution isn't to find bigger rewards. It's to retrain your brain to get dopamine from the right places. Okay, the science is cool, but how do we actually it? How do we take this new understanding that dopamine is about the journey, not the destination, and build an unstoppable motivation engine? It all comes down to a shift in focus. You have to learn to fall in love with the process. You have to teach your brain to get dopamine not from the achievement, but from the here's how. Since dopamine is released in of a reward, your most powerful tool is your own mind. Most of us let our thoughts run wild, focusing on how hard a task will be. We create a sense of dread. And dread is just the anticipation of a negative outcome. It's a dopamine killer. Instead, you have to consciously build positive anticipation. This isn't about lying to yourself and pretending that studying is fun. It's about reframing the reward. Let's go back to that boring exam. The normal thought is, ugh, I have to read 50 pages of this dry textbook. This is going to suck. That thought creates a negative prediction error before you even begin. Your dopamine drops just thinking about it. To flip the script, attach the effort to a sense of progress. Before you start, take 1 minute. Close your eyes and actively visualize the feeling of satisfaction you'll have after 1 solid hour of focus. Picture yourself closing the book, feeling proud of your discipline. Imagine making that little check mark on your to-do list. By focusing on that immediate, achievable win, the feeling of accomplishment you are generating. You're manufacturing your own motivation. You're telling your brain, hey, this next hour of effort is going to result in a feeling of pride. And your brain responds by releasing dopamine to help you chase feeling. This works for anything. Before a workout, don't focus on the pain. Focus on the feeling of strength you'll have walking out of the gym. Before a daunting project, focus on the relief you'll feel after completing just the first small step. You are learning to associate dopamine with the effort, not just the end result. Once you've set your expectation, you need to back it up with your actions. Here are 2 practical, science-backed tools to make this real. This is where you truly start to love the process. The secret to long-term motivation is to stop waiting for the finish line to feel good. You have to give yourself little dopamine hits along the way by celebrating the effort itself. Here's the framework. Break any big goal into the smallest possible unit of work. Writing a book. Today's goal is write 200 words. Getting in shape. Today's goal is put on gym clothes and walk out the door. Now for the magic. As soon as you complete that tiny bit of effort, you must consciously acknowledge it as a win. This isn't about external rewards like eating a cookie, it's about generating an internal, subjective reward. The second you finish your 200 words, take 10 seconds. Close your eyes and tell yourself, I did it, I showed up today. I'm building the person I want to be. This is a win. Feel the pride in that. You are literally telling your brain, the effort I just put in is the reward. When you do this consistently, you forge a new neural pathway. Your brain starts to release dopamine not in anticipation of finishing the book, but in anticipation of the act of writing. You are conditioning yourself to want to do the work. This is how people learn to love the gym. They've successfully tied the strain and sweat to the internal feeling of strength and progress. They get a dopamine hit from the process. It's a skill anyone can learn. You've probably heard of a dopamine detox. The name is a bit of a misnomer because you can't actually fast from an essential brain chemical. There's no scientific evidence that just abstaining from your phone for a day will magically reset anything. However, the practice points to a vital truth. You need to give your brain a break from cheap, high-octane stimulation. The real goal isn't a detox, it's re-sensitization. Think about our lake analogy again. If you're constantly throwing boulders in, you become numb to the ripples. The solution is to stop throwing the boulders for a while. Here's how to do it. Schedule periods of low stimulation activity into your week. This doesn't mean sensory deprivation. It just means doing things that don't rely on a constant feed of unpredictable rewards. Going for a walk without music or a podcast, reading a physical book, doing chores without the TV on in the background, just sitting in silence for 10 minutes and letting your mind wander. At first, this will feel intensely boring. That boredom is a withdrawal symptom. Your brain is begging for a hit. But if you stick with it, your dopamine baseline will begin to stabilize. The lake calms down. Then when you go back to your work, the small ripple you get from making progress feels significant again. By strategically embracing a little boredom, you make hard work feel more rewarding. This shift in understanding, from seeing dopamine as pleasure to seeing it as the engine of pursuit, is the single most important step to taking back control of your motivation. It's the difference between being a passenger waiting for inspiration to strike and being the driver who can create it on demand. If this new way of thinking makes sense to you, and you're ready to stop chasing feelings and start building a real system for success, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel. We're all about breaking down the science of performance into practical tools you can actually use. Hit that subscribe button because we have a lot more lies to uncover. So let's bring it all home. You've been lied to. The lie said motivation was a feeling of pleasure you get at the end of the road. It created a world of people chasing finish lines, valuing only the trophy, and feeling broken when they don't feel like starting the race. But the truth is so much more empowering. The truth is that motivation isn't the prize, it's the pursuit. Dopamine is not the pleasure of arrival, it's the joy of the journey. It's the biological force that makes us strive, seek, and overcome. When you truly get this, everything changes. You stop seeing hard tasks as miserable obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities to generate your own reward. You learn to get dopamine from the effort itself, celebrating the small wins that build real momentum. You learn to protect your focus by stepping away from the cheap dopamine of the modern world, resensitizing your brain to the deep satisfaction of doing something that matters. You don't need to wait for motivation to strike you like lightning. You can build it, you can cultivate it, you can be the architect of your own drive. The power was never in the reward, it was in you all along. Stop waiting to feel good. Go out there and start building.